Hello again, welcome to High Performance Homestead. Thanks for watching. Figured I'd answer the question, what is a high performance home? What does that mean, at least to me? I don't know if there's a right definition or not. There might be somewhere, but at least to me, I understand a high performance home, at least, is one that performs the way you expect it to. The inputs that you put in, you want to stay in, and everything else you want to keep out. So in my case, I am building the home. I've changed my plans. I've changed the plans for the home a little bit to where it's not just a metal building and then relying on spray foam to seal the thing up. So that's why I've added the zip sheathing to the outside. So I'm going to be putting the zip sheathing on there. It's a 7/16 OSB, but it's got that green layer on the outside, which is the WRB, or the weather resistant barrier. So that is a water resistive barrier, it's the air barrier, it's a permeability type barrier, as long as you install it correctly. So we should have, minus doors and windows, a very airtight house. So I'm going to be using an ERV, energy recovery ventilator. Some call it an enthalpy recovery ventilator. That's because it's not only exhausting air, but it is also bringing makeup air back in. So those are some of the things that make our home a high performance home. Not only that, we are using geothermal. So we have a water furnace system that will do our heating and cooling. It will also run the pump and heat for our radiant floor. So it's 3 systems all in one: heating, cooling, and radiant floor. I know radiant floor is also heating, but it's a different type of system. So those few systems, I think, is what I think about when I'm talking about a high performance home. I'm calling this a high performance homestead though. So we're raising cows for beef. We're going to be having chickens and whatever else we end up with, goat, pigs, whatnot. I guess the performance part of that is what I've always wanted to think about is automation. So I'm a traveling airplane mechanic. I work on turbine engines for a living, and I travel. I work from the house. Whenever it's time to go, I hop in the truck or hop in an airplane. When I do have my own airplane, I'll hop in that and go and fix an airplane engine somewhere. Well, I don't want to have to rely on my wife and son to turn on all the waters, feed all the animals, all that kind of thing. So I'm trying to develop systems of automation where there are pumps and solar recharge systems for batteries at different stations around the property to be able to pump water to the chicken coop or pump water to the cows. Wherever we have the cows, I'm doing rotational grazing, moving cows every 4 days. Anyway, that is basically the explanation of why I'm calling this a high performance homestead. This particular video, however, is just back to the home. I'm still preparing for the concrete pad. In this time, before we set up we squared up the pad, we put the form boards up. Now we're cutting all of the kickers and the stakes and putting them in place to support the form boards and making sure that the form boards are where they're supposed to be. And that's going to take care of the weight. Whenever the concrete pours in, we've got about 6 inches of depth. Whenever all that concrete pours in, it's going to want to push out on those form boards. So the kickers, which are just the horizontal supports for the form boards, they're going to be attached to the stakes that I'm driving down into the ground, putting those about every 4 feet. They're about 2 feet long. Both the kickers and the stakes are about 2 feet long. And that will support all that weight that's trying to push out on the form boards and making it not a square, but kind of an oval. So we're going to do that on this, and then we're going to cut the footers around. So I'm using shovels and installing the footings around the perimeter of the house and 2 footings in the center to support a couple of big walls. So that's what we're doing on this one. Let's get it going, and I hope y'all enjoy this video. Thank you. Now it's time to cut stakes. And I remember seeing people doing things like this, with sticking a pencil in the guard so you don't have to worry about the blade guard getting in the way, and then just resting it on your knee and cutting the angles like this. And I figured I'd give it a shot. I know I'm very uncomfortable having that blade out there. I'm uncomfortable holding it like that. I'm uncomfortable getting a good sharp angle out of it. But I figured I'd try it at least. We'll do the first one like this. Of course, I don't even know how to set the stupid thing down now because the blade guard's not there. It's like using a death wheel. So we'll go pound this one in, see how hard it is, make sure that angle is right. It seems like it's pretty good. And I think I'm going to figure out another way. So I'm going to use the sliding miter saw here, and at least there's a fence to back it up against. So if it does catch, it's not going to throw that wood toward me, and it's not going to throw that saw toward me either. So I'm a little bit safer doing it this way. I think I like it. Now that I've got the kickers and the stakes all installed, now that'll support the weight of the concrete pushing out against it, it's time to cut the footers. So these are the perimeter footers, which will hold the weight of the building around the outside. And then I also cut a couple of footers on the inside, which weren't part of the plans. But that will support the 2x6 wall on the back side and the other wall on the front side, which starts the beginning of the second floor. So the plans call for a 12 by 12 turn down, 12 inch by 12 inch turn down. I think I went down about 14.5 inches and out 13.5, and that'll account for some of the width for the insulation. I used a pointy end shovel for getting out most of the bulk of the dirt, and then a flat tip shovel to establish the line going down the spray paint line and to square up the bottom of the hole. Today, we're almost done digging. So yesterday I went to the store and got some conduit. That stuff is awfully expensive. So I got some 2.5, 1.5, and 1 inch wide, diameter sticks of conduit. And then I got some long sweep 90s here. That sucker's huge. And it wasn't cheap, but luckily I don't know what I'm doing. So when I'm pulling 4 wires of, 18-aught wiring through conduit, that's gonna make life a little bit easier. I had to check the plans right here to make sure I was gonna be good. I'm gonna put the electric box, the fuse panel right here. So I need to be 9.5 feet from the outside wall there. So I think I'm going to do, that's probably 10 feet from my form board. So 11, 12, we'll do 12 feet. All right, now we got 12 feet away from that wall right there, just like we saw in the plans. So I'm going to put a stake here, do a string line, some paint, and get to digging. today. We are hopefully finishing up the conduit. We got everything run so far. The only thing we have left to do is get water into the house and internet into the house. So we're going to use 1.5 inches for our 1-inch PEX line of water coming in, and we'll use 1-inch conduit for the internet coming in. It only really needs 3/4, but I like to overdo things. So I've got these two guys put together. I'm going to tape them together, and then we will get the trench dug over here. Well, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching and watching all the way to the end and being patient with me as I get this thing started and figure out what the heck I'm doing with all the editing and the filming and everything. I appreciate it. Thank you to all those who have liked and subscribed. That really helps me out a lot, and it just kind of makes me feel good. So next time we are going to be doing the underlayment, the plastic that goes underneath the slab, as well as the 1.5 inch thick insulation. And that's the last bit of preparation, I believe, before we start putting rebar and the PEX lines and all that for the radiant floor system. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.